Hi guys, welcome back. So we are still continuing with Psalm 91 and we're doing verses 9 and 10 today. So let's get into it. Verse 9 of Psalm 91 says, "Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place." That's verse 10. All right, so it starts with the word because. And as you can hear when I read that sentence, it sounds incomplete. And that word because is showing us that there's something that must still follow. It's an incomplete thought, and there's an explanation that needs to follow that statement. Then it says, because you have made the Lord. That word have made is a perfect verb aspect. And what that means is it's used to indicate which of the two events occurred first. Which one occurred before the other. And it's something that's used to describe a single event that happened in the past that has effects on the present. So it's saying, because you have made, all right, the Lord. So this is saying, this is what happened first. Because you made the Lord your dwelling place, and then there's something that's going to follow because of that. So it's just stating that this was the first thing that happened. You first did this action, you first made the Lord your dwelling place, and then there's something that followed. Okay, cool. So let's carry on. So the Lord, there is referring to Jehovah, and that word means self-existent, and it's also the national Jewish name that the Jews use for God. And then it says, my refuge, right? So it says, because, so it's telling us something's going to follow. You have made, so it's saying this is something that you've already done in the past. It's something that is occurring before now. Because you have made the Lord, that Lord we said now is Jehovah, who is my refuge. And there is using the word my, because it's the person writing the chapter that is making that statement. So it's again making it very personal, like he said in verse 2 where he says, and I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge, he is my fortress. So it's making it personal. Thanks for the wave, guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Okay, so it's making it personal. Who is my refuge? And refuge, as we said before, refers to a shelter, a hope, a trust. It's a place you can flee to for protection. It's just restating what it said in verse 2, that personal declaration that the Lord is his refuge. And again, in verse 4, it says that you will find refuge under his wings, right? So it's just a continuation of what we have already gone through. Okay. Then it says, who did you make your refuge? The Most High. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. So that Most High, Elyon is the Hebrew name for that, or the Hebrew word, and it suggests the highest place, high in rank, elevated, the uppermost, and in this case it's used as a title to describe God. Okay. And then the dwelling place, it says you have made the Most High your dwelling place. That dwelling place refers to a habitation, an abode, a home, a retreat, referring to cohabitation. And the root word of that actually refers to cohabitation in the sense of the duty of marriage, being in that type of relationship, that type of cohabitation. So that is that meaning of making the Most High your dwelling place. Now, what was interesting for me is I found there's a connection between the dwelling place and the Most High. Because, why do I say that? Because in verse 1 it says, he dwells in the secret place of the Most High, right? So it starts off with that. And the whole of Psalm 91 is about dwelling in the secret place of the Most High, under the shadow of his feathers of his wings. So that is the context. That is how it's introducing this chapter. So there's a connection between the dwelling place and the Most High. And what this meant for me is we are in a higher place. If your dwelling place is with the Most High, remember we said Most High means an elevated place, highest rank. Let's look at the words that we used. The uppermost, highest in rank. So when you make a dwelling in the Most High, your dwelling is in a higher place, right? Because it's connecting the dwelling and the Most High in two places in this chapter. So for me, this implies that we are in a higher place. We are higher than earthly things. We are higher than what we see, what we feel, what we hear, what we are experiencing. Higher than the circumstances that we are in or the obstacles that we have faced. Why? Because our dwelling is in the Most High, right? Another place, an upper place, a higher place. Our physical bodies are here on earth. They can't dwell there yet. So why does he say that we must make the Lord our dwelling place? Well, I believe he's speaking about not necessarily our physical bodies, although Moses did physically live in the presence of the Lord. He was physically in that secret place. But for us, with our application, we can't be there yet with our physical bodies. But we know that we are seated with Christ in heavenly places, right? So how are we going to dwell there? I want to suggest it's this way. It's our hearts and our minds, including our thoughts. And that is what dwells in the higher place. In Colossians 3, verse 1 to 2, it says, "If then you were raised with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ is sitting. Set your mind on things above." Above where? A higher place, the Most High, and not on things on earth. So for me, this was such an amazing revelation that there's a connection between where you make your dwelling. It's about the position, your position that you are placing your thoughts in your mind. That is your thoughts and your heart dwelling in the Most High. Did you make your dwelling in the Most High? Is that where your thoughts and your hearts are set and are dwelling? And okay, there we're back. Sorry about that. Okay, so remember the verse starts with, "Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place." And then it stops, and the verses stop. So let's look at what verse 10 says. It says, because if you've done that, what's going to happen? "No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling." No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. Now that evil refers to something bad, natural or morally. All right, it can mean trouble, adversity, calamity. And then the word befall means something that approaches you, that takes its opportunity to approach you. And then the plague, it says, "No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling." And that plague refers to a blow, figuratively or in the form of infliction, like a spot, like a leprous person, or a sore, a stripe, or a wound. And what was interesting for me, because remember the context is Moses writing Psalm 91 in the time that they're in the wilderness, that the tabernacle has been built and they've been delivered from Egypt. And in Numbers, it says in Numbers 16 verse 46, it talks about where Korah brings a rebellion, stirs up a rebellion between the people and between Moses and Aaron. And 250 of the leaders follow him. And because of that, God opens up the earth and they get swallowed in the earth. And the people become angry because of that, and they start to rise up against Moses and Aaron. And then in verse 46 it says, "And a plague already did stop," because God was furious, and Moses says to Aaron, take these burners, take the incense, run in between the people, because the plague has already started because of the rebellion of Korah and the people. So it's interesting for me that was something that they experienced in the wilderness while the tabernacle was in their midst. After being delivered from Egypt, there was a plague that went through the tents, and that a lot of people died from that. But when Aaron interceded for them, God saw them again as holy. So he says there, no plague will come near. And I think that is something that he was referring to. It was type of like a leprosy plague. All right. And then that word dwelling refers to a tent, a home, a covering. It could have referred to the physical tabernacle. So for me, that's more like a physical dwelling that's referred to. So what's interesting for me is the dwelling that it talks about in verse 10 and the dwelling that it talks about in verse 9 has two different root words. It's referring to similar things but not the same thing. So the dwelling in verse 9 in the King James Version, the word is actually used habitation. And like a place of habitation, it's a place where you spend your time. It's a place that it's your habitation, right? And remember, we said it's a place of cohabitation. The root of that word is referring to dwelling together in cohabitation, as in marriage, as I mentioned. But the dwelling in verse 10 refers more to a tent or a covering or a home, probably referring to the tents of the Israelites as they lived in the wilderness, or the physical tabernacle. So for me, the difference between the two is it's talking about habitation of a place. So the verse 9 is talking about the habitation, the cohabitation, the relationship. And verse 10 is talking about the physical dwelling. So for me, that was interesting. So he's saying in verse 9, because you've made the Lord, the Most High, your dwelling place, your place of habitation, your place of coexistence, your place of relationship, no evil will befall you or come near your dwelling. That is your physical home, your physical tent, your place of where you stay, where you habitate, but it's not that habitation, right? And then the verse 10 is basically the reward or the benefit of verse 9. Remember that word because is saying to us this is an incomplete sentence. There must be explanation following the statement. So it says, verse 10 is a reward because you have made the Most High your dwelling place. That is why no evil will befall you or come near your dwelling. And in Psalm 5 verse 4, it says, for you are not a God who takes pleasure in wickedness, nor shall evil dwell with you. Again, that word dwell. But this word dwell also has a different meaning than the other two dwellings. This word means a temporary stay or a lodging. So it's saying that evil can't even temporarily stay or lodge or visit in the presence of God. It doesn't dwell. It can't dwell with God. And that's why we need Jesus, right? Because he's saying you need to dwell in the presence of God. You need to make God's secret place your habitation. But evil can't dwell in the presence of God. And that's why we need Jesus, because in Jesus we are righteous. In Jesus we are able to dwell in the secret place of the Most High. Amen. Okay, so in conclusion, remember that if you're dwelling in the Most High, you're dwelling in a higher place. Keep your thoughts, keep your mind, keep your heart focused on Jesus, on the higher place, not on the surroundings, not on your circumstances, not on the obstacles, but keep your mind focused on a higher place, because our dwelling, our habitation is in a higher place. Keep your mind focused on Him. Stay in cohabitation spiritually. As we live here on earth, we remember that our habitation is in a higher place. So I hope this blessed you guys, and I will see you again next week with verse 11 and 12. Be blessed, guys. Bye.